Oh my gosh. I just watched Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. It was awesome, folks. It was an awesome movie. It reminds me a little bit of The Fifth Element. It does spoof off of some movies like Star Trek, like Star Wars. Um, it's got a little bit of everything inside of there. Yes, the guy playing Valerian, I don't know if his name is Mark Salisbury. He is spoofing off Keanu Reeves' voice, and I thought that was pretty cool. There's a lot of spoofing. It really is some funny little spoofings. I knew the director was having a good time with this movie when I realized how much he's kind of cloning and cloaking different things from different movies. But this movie was awesome, man. It wasn't hard to follow. I think some people get bogged down in trying to understand the technical details of certain things instead of just going with the story. I don't know if people know how to follow stories anymore. This is like a typical storytelling, quite frankly. I know The Fifth Element also was a box office flop, and it turned out to be a cult classic. I could see how this could be a cult classic because it's a really good movie. So if I were to just summarize this movie, as you can see the spoilers there, if I was to summarize this movie, I kind of kicked myself in the foot for not going to see it in the cinemas, though. This definitely is going to do well on Blu-ray and DVD if you go and watch it. I guess the people with the negative reviews got to me. I should have really gone and seen this movie in the cinemas. I really regret it. I'm kind of angry with myself. I'm note to self: don't listen to what other people say. Just go see the movie for yourself. So here's what this movie is about, really quickly. This is Valerian. This is Lorraine. There is a city out there of 1,000 planets called Alpha 1. Alpha 1 was created in the beginning when off of Earth, mankind started to come together, and their space stations, they would greet each other at international space stations. So you had first, the United States was up there, then I guess Russia, and then Germany, Japan, China, England, and all these other nations. So it was an international kind of space station with more and more elements joined to it. And then it started having intergalactic elements where we had these alien peoples coming and actually coexisting and living on the space station. It got so big, it was bigger than Earth, so they had to send it out into the cosmos, okay? So that's the City of 1,000 Planets. Now, in front of you was citizens of a planet called Mu. Beautiful, paradise-looking planet. And this planet was attacked, or not attacked, but there was all these debris that fell down in the planet in the beginning of the story, and then afterwards the planet exploded. But there were some survivors. But when you saw the peoples initially, it showed you the foundation of what the story is about, which is that they existed well with nature. They took these pearls from the sea, and using these little animals we call converters, they were able to produce a whole ton more pearls, and some of those pearls were given back to the land, and that maintained this paradise state between land and sea. So they gave back to the earth. But then, as I said before, this disaster happened where there's all these planes and stuff that were falling from the sky and crashing, and dead people inside of them. And we learn later what that's about, okay? But in the end, there was this young princess and the king and queen's daughter, and she gets stranded. They end up hiding in a bunker of a ship, and they closed the door, but the princess was outside. They couldn't open it anymore, and there was this nuclear blast that blew up the whole entire planet, and the daughter died. But as she was dying, she emitted this burst of energy, okay? And that snaps us to Valerian, who's chilling out by the sea, it seems. And he's taking sun, and then he sees this big blast come at him. Okay, and he wakes up. He realizes he was sleeping. And then Lorraine comes, and he's talking about, he loves Lorraine so much, and they're kind of fighting each other at first because they're kind of tactical people. And there's this banter between them. And just in short, Lorraine is very defenseful because she does not think that this guy, all the talk he's talking about marrying her and loving her and all of that, she doesn't believe it because he's had other relationships with other ladies, and he wasn't faithful. Right? And once he gets with them, that's it. He kicks them to the curb. So she didn't trust him. And this head of defense contacts them about their mission. So there's this mission that interrupts their banter. And you have to remember there was this blast that he saw, and then realized they're on a ship. It was just a virtual reality thing. And they go to their mission, and this lieutenant here by Herbie Hancock tells them what their mission is to get this converter. So they go out to this other Earth, or island, or whatever it is, world. On this world is just plain desert. And it's really funny, the banter between them and the soldiers. But the bottom line is, they have to go get this converter. So they go out to this island, which is a kind of tourist resort, and there's this bunch of people. They have to put on it's like virtual reality, where you see the city. So when you put on virtual reality, you see this huge city in the middle of a desert. So it looks like desert, but it's a city. But really, that place actually harbors criminals who actually cloak themselves, and you can only see them with the virtual reality, but they're actually there, but they look invisible otherwise. And because of that, Valerian has to go and get this converter. So he goes in to there, and he meets this guy who's some kind of criminal, some kind, who has this converter box that he had to get. And the guy is talking to these same people you see at the beginning of the movie. And this guy, he's trying to keep this converter thing from them. And they offer him a pearl, because remember, there's pearls in their island. And they say there's a lot more than they can pay him. But before things could go south, because they had guns on him and stuff, and it was about to go down a shootout, Valerian comes, puts a gun to this guy's head, and takes the converter. He looks at the people, and they look very familiar to him. And so he's like, I've seen these people in a dream before, which is the same dream he had with the blast and stuff and the girl. And so he was kind of curious, and that kind of stopped him. But anyway, in the end, he gets the converter. He gets out of there. All right? This is the bottom line. And when he escapes, he comes back now to City of 1,000 Planets. He was supposed to go there. He ends up in the City of 1,000 Planets. And the first time he's being there with Lorraine. And in City of 1,000 Planets, this converter was supposed to be given to this gentleman, who was called the Commander. That's what we'll call him for now, Commander. And you see this guy here was one of his lieutenants. And then this guy here was also a lieutenant, a little higher in command to this one. Okay, he was the second in command. That would be him over here. Anyway, Lorraine and Valerian. Valerian's a major, and I think she's a sergeant. They're really working for the government. They're government agents. Anyway, the long and short is they brought the converter back. They decided to hold on to the converter because the commander wanted the converter. Commander always looked dirty. He always seemed to have some kind of thing up his sleeve. Valerian was trying to investigate the people in his dream, and Lorraine had seen what was in the converter, which was one of these little animals here. Cute little animal. She got it back to health and everything. And let me just cut the story short. Lorraine and Valerian and the commander and they get attacked by some people. They don't know them because they're also cloaked. Because, like I said before, you know, the criminals and so on existed in this world, but really looks more like a desert. It's cloaked. It's a cloak world. And so the criminals could hide in that. And that's why Valerian had to see through the cloaking, and then he had to basically come back to this world so that he could be cloaked from those people. He had to cloak himself in that. Alright, so anyway, the long and short of it is that these people cloaked themselves and came in and kidnapped this commander. They didn't kill anyone, but they put people in a kind of like a slimy kind of thing so they couldn't attack. Alright, so this commander, he seemed dirty all along. Later on, we find out who he really is. But this lieutenant was in command. Valerian goes chasing down the commander so he can find him. In the process, he disappears off the radar so that Lorraine starts to chase him down. Okay? This is the long and short of the story. I don't want to get into too much details. You can always go and watch the details. It's really cool. Now, all between this, there's banter between them about whether they love. She always wants him to prove his love. And so, this is what happens. She goes looking for him, showing that she's interested. She finally finds him, okay? But in finding him, she herself gets abducted. So he has to go off chasing after her. In the process, he meets this character, which is named Bubbles, which is played by Rihanna. And Bubbles, she's a shapeshifter. She can change into just anyone, and she doesn't know exactly who she is. She can be whatever you want her to be. And she was trying to, get a little thing going on with Valerian. And Valerian showed his commitment to Lorraine and that he really loved Lorraine and he wanted to get her back. So Bubbles helps him get her back, and in the process, Valerian helps Bubbles escape because she's like this sex slave for this other guy in the slave trade. So she ends up being freed of that dude. And Valerian thought that Lorraine was going into this sex slave thing, and so he went to try and save her. In fact, she was on the food chain menu, and he and Bubbles came just in time. He imitated the people there, was able to break in, infiltrate, and save Lorraine. So Lorraine knew that Valerian was really, cared about her. Anyway, the long and short of it is, they ended up finding these people over here. Ended up finding these people in their journey, and they found out the truth about the situation. And this is the truth of the situation. The commander who was abducted actually was in a war outside of their world with another set of peoples. And they were losing the war. So the commander ordered a nuclear strike on the enemy. But this nuclear blast would knock the ship down into this world, and the world was inhabited with these people. Okay? With these people. And instead of calling it off, the commander knew that there was a civilization there, but he called them primitive savages. And the person who informed him, he had him executed later on. But these people, he knew that, but he still ordered the strike and killed all of 6 million of these people. And the only people that survived were these people here because they were in a bunker. And they were adrift on a ship, and they were able to learn about man's history for 400 years. And then they went to Alpha 1, City of 1,000 Planets, and they were there learning how to recreate their planet. And they purchased a ship. Now, here's what happened. They needed the converter, which would be this little guy here. And they needed a pearl, because this little guy, he can, once he eats a pearl, he can produce a whole ton of pearls, and that will keep their world running. But this commander here, this guy, this dude, he wanted to hide evidence that he had actually destroyed a world, because it would have had repercussions in how the world was seen, Earthlings were seen. So what he did was he killed the guy that had told him there was people, primitive life on there, and then he tried to scrub all the records from the records of these people, Mu, this world, and then he tried to kill out the remaining Mus. So he had these guys come, the case they were on was actually his case. He had them come to Alpha 1, City of 1,000 Planets, to be able to give him the converter box, which these people would need to create their world that would bring the people to him, and then he would destroy them. So when they abducted him, they hoped to have gotten the converter, but the converter wasn't there. And it was actually Valerian who, when he came to them, who was guided by the soul of the girl who had actually infiltrated him, entered him, that directed him back to these people. They were able to see the soul of the daughter, remove her from him, and also tell him and Lorraine the story, the whole entire story of what happened to them. How this commander, he wanted to erase them from memory. And Valerian and they said, well, they gave them back the converter, which would be this little animal here, and they also gave them back the pearl. Okay? I'm just telling you the story. There's a lot more to the story than that. And in so doing, they've got back peace because they felt that their peoples had done them wrong. Now, at the end of that, these people were able to peacefully launch off with their ship, but then a lot of things happened. But anyway, let's just cut to the chase. Commander was caught, arrested, and he was prosecuted. Lorraine and Valerian were able to go, and they planned to basically live together and get married. And these people were able to go with their ship and therefore form their own world on their ship and continue onwards in their life. Now, having said that, that's the entire story really. Here's the thing that really underlay this story, which gave it meaning. One, Lorraine's love for Valerian and Valerian's love for Lorraine drove this story. If you thought that it wasn't the usual tropes of how a love story goes, then you wouldn't like it. Okay? And the problem with people are they when they go to the cinema, they don't look for life. They don't look for realism. They look for tropes. The usual tropes. They're used to usual tropes. So I heard people say so many fickle things about the actor who played Valerian and Cara Delevingne who played Lorraine. I thought they played them just wonderfully. In fact, they're much more realistic than even in Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot and Chris Pine, because that's a kind of Hollywood kind of love story, whereas this story was more about real people who are kind of ordinary people. The nice, for those that don't know, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets based on a comic book. And the cool thing about the comic book is it took ordinary people and made them special agents. And how they would react with each other ordinarily in a relationship is what you see on the screen. The other thing about this movie, like I said, it spoofed other movies. And it didn't take itself too seriously. It didn't always. You're not dotting I's and crossing T's with this movie. But at the same time, it talks about things such as embracing everyone, globalization, like Star Trek, like Star Wars. It talks about themes of love, sacrificing, forgiving love. It talks about sometimes love has to break rules to keep a moral standard and a moral code, as when they had to basically break the laws and give them back the converter box, because the little animal inside the converter box was not Valerian's own. He was a soldier, as was Lorraine, but Lorraine was trying to explain to Valerian, if you love something, then you must understand the principle behind it, the principle that's happening here. And he was able to let her, because he loved her so much, he really did. He was head over heels in love with her. Let her give them the converter box. Now, there's some twist in the story. We all knew who the bad guy was in the story. We could have kind of picked it up, but just didn't know what was his story, and we didn't know how it would transpire. But he had these robot things that shot on soldiers, started killing out a lot of people, coming down to the end, and was going to blow up basically the Alpha 1. It was going to blow up the inside to outside of Alpha 1 to destroy these people, to annihilate them. Not destroy all of Alpha 1, but Alpha 1 had different sectors and stuff. But at the end of the day, he failed. He was not killed, so he had to stand trial, and justice was served. What this story tells me is so symptomatic of the world we are in today with Donald Trump and nationalism, and we must not look bad, and we mustn't look, we cover up things. Trump is covering up right now his relationship with Russia in the elections. It's ugly, and this guy hasn't done a thing that is good so far, and that's because he built his election on evil and evil intent. And so far, they can't pass a help bill, or they can't do anything because they came in a collusion to do something that was wrong. And nothing comes of evil. Evil doesn't. It may look like it's prospering, but it doesn't bring forth anything good. So I don't expect anything good out of this guy's regime. But bottom line, this kind of answers to that. Now, I don't know if it's unpopular or what. I don't know why Hollywood went against this. And I think this is what Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith was saying, and a lot of other people, why they don't go to Academy Awards anymore. There's this formulaic way of doing movies, and if somebody's being creative and a little bit different in how they do relationships, people bash them. Like, I can't understand why they're bashing the actor, because he's normal looking. That's the way how Valerian, the City of a Thousand Planets comic was. He's an ordinary guy who had extraordinary background, and if you just look at him in the movie, he's doing some extraordinary things, which is really awesome. I disagree with Dave the Film Junkie that this guy was a poor actor. He did exactly what the director wanted, and this director was passionate about the book. He wanted to do this book for the longest while. You can see his passion in the visual imagery. There was nothing confusing about it. The changing of sites and venues again went with the story. If you're just going with the story and not being anal or retentive asshole, just trying to get every single detail, like what? And what's going on here? What? If you just went with the story, you get your answers. But you just have to go with the story. That's all. Very nice story. Very nice story. Not Academy Award winning. Is it the greatest movie I've ever seen? No. But it is very entertaining. Very good. I like the different civilizations of people. Everything was relevant to the plot of the story. The major plot was about getting the converter, getting the pearls to start this world, and finding out why this world was destroyed and who was responsible. And we found out all of that in the movie. And that's what basically this movie was. It was a little bit of a mystery, adventure, a lot of adventure, which was awesome. I love the concepts. The concepts are dope as hell. Where, somebody, you can't even see them coming because they're cloaked. That's so sick. and that sometimes people exist in different realms. That is cool too. So a lot of stuff and a lot of things to explore. I hope he does a follow-up movie to this. I don't know, because it was a box office flop, kind of like The Fifth Element, which turned out to be a cult classic. I could see this movie being a cult classic. I don't think the two characters were typecast wrong. I think they were perfect for the job. I think people are way too Hollywoodish and too tropish in how they think a hero should be. And I think this flies in the face of that. I love Luc Besson because he's a French man. He has a funny sense of humor also in his movies. Really dig this movie. I'm really sorry I did not go and support it in the theaters. This is a movie you guys need to go see. Go buy the DVD and Blu-ray. Go watch it and see what I'm talking about with this movie. I just broke it down in spoiler form, but there's a lot more to it than that. And there's so many emotional beats in this story you could miss if you get caught up in, he's being like Keanu Reeves. If you be really petty. Like, there's some real freaking petty people in this world. I don't know what to say, man. Oh, he doesn't have a body. He doesn't have a body built like a hero. What the hell does that mean? Heroes come all kinds of ways. And this movie is based on ordinary people who exist in this realm where they're actually military, because this is a whole different this is a whole different civilization in existence. This is thousands of years after our time. Okay? So I don't know, man. I see some real stupid people make some stupid comments because they just don't follow a movie or they don't understand a movie. And this is just one of them. This is a misunderstood movie, quite clearly. There's nothing to this movie. This movie ain't that deep. It ain't that deep, really, folks. And I find everything fits together quite well. For those anal retentive assholes who say it doesn't fit together well, you're really an anal retentive asshole, man. You got to be an asshole not to like this movie. It's cool, I'm telling you. And Dave the Film Junkie, I hate to say it, man. If you said you couldn't get over the fact that this guy was talking like Keanu Reeves, if that was it, if you were so freaking petty, man, that you couldn't even watch a movie because of that, dude, just give it up. Don't review no damn movies. You know what I'm saying? Because you got stinking bias, man. Come on, man, dude. Grow up. Grow up. It was a good movie. All right? And I'm really ashamed. And I'm not going to pay attention to much critical reviews anymore. These people who I'm supposed to be trusting, Dave's supposed to be a guy I'm supposed to be, vibing with and on the same playing field with. And this dude, I don't know what he expected from this movie. All right? Talking about visually stunning and it had potential. What the freaking hell is that? This movie was great. This movie was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. Okay, it wasn't great. It was good, though. It was good. I wouldn't say it was great. I wouldn't say it was good. The Fifth Element was a good movie. I wouldn't say it was great. But it was a hell of a ride for me. I enjoyed it a lot. And it had a meaningful story that it told. So, guys, sometimes you're just not supposed to listen to other people. Go pick this up on DVD, or if you can get it on Blu-ray, pick it up. Watch the story for yourself. You can take in all the negativity that people say. People are fickle. But go for the substance. Understand what the story is telling you. I gave you the spoilers for this movie, so you can always go and check it out and see for yourself. It's a good damn ass movie, man. You guys have a great one.